Melania Trump stole her speech.
I'm sorry, what?
She's so good that Melania Trump plagiarized her speech.
Who gives a
Thank you.
beep about Rosie O'Donnell?
All right, if you're unaware, Michelle Obama has started a podcast, and I know what you're thinking, another podcast put into circulation. Who would have ever guessed? Now, I think you guys are going to love this meltdown because Scott Jennings from CNN is just saying what we are all thinking. I will let him speak for himself. However, the meltdown over from CNN is hilarious, so enjoy this clip.
Another lifestyle podcast.
She can't stay out of it. She can't just
Can't stay out of
like
it.
She's making money and having fun.
We all are sort of all, it's like programmed to talk about how great she is and how smart she is. I mean, she campaigned a lot for Kamala Harris. She was a key speaker of the Democratic National Convention. Barack Obama was a key strategist for this whole thing that happened last year. And yet somehow Donald Trump still won. So I'm rethinking the premise of that she's the answer to the future, or that any politician is the answer to Democratic Party.
She's not a politician.
She's so good that Melania...
Now, the reason why Scott Jennings is calling Michelle Obama a politician is because he's just saying what we are all thinking. It seems like for Democrats, they have the old trick in the bag. Let's bring in the Obamas to talk about how great it is to be a Democrat and campaign for Kamala Harris, and that's simply what Scott Jennings is trying to say. Now, I'm actually going to play you guys a segment or a clip from the time Michelle Obama spoke for Kamala Harris, and I'll let you guys decide how you feel about this.
I hope that you'll forgive me if I'm a little angry that we are indifferent to his erratic behavior, his obvious mental decline, his history as a convicted felon, a known slumlord, a predator found liable for abuse. All of this while we pick apart Kamala's answers from interviews that he doesn't even have the courage to do, y'all.
Now look, I'm going to compare Michelle Obama to another celebrity so you can see how she sort of does come off as a politician. I actually see this as a compliment from Scott Jennings.
Women have to work 10 times harder, perform 10 times better, and still people question us how we got to the top.
Trump stole her speech.
I'm sorry, what?
She's so good that Melania Trump plagiarized her speech, or do you not remember?
And you like
at the Republican convention.
Scott, you like Michelle Obama?
Yeah, I think she's fine, but just after the, I thought she gave a wonderful speech as far as convention speeches go. I'm just looking at what happened last fall. The Obamas helped engineer Biden's ouster. They put in Harris. They ran the campaign. She campaigned for him. And it was a total failure. I'm just wondering how good they really were.
Now, while we are on the topic, CNN also had another meltdown in regards to not a politician, but a celebrity. As many of you are aware, Rosie O'Donnell and Donald Trump definitely have a beef, and Rosie O'Donnell has always talked down on Donald Trump. However, Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank really has something to say about this.
Who gives a
Thank you.
beep about Rosie O'Donnell and where she wants to go? I don't care what celebrities think about politicians or who they want to vote for. I think the last election proved it doesn't matter who you are.
You are a celebrity.
Yeah,
really.
Politics.
Who cares what I think in terms of my picking a politician or who I vote for? You make your own decision. If she wants to move to Phnom Penh, move to Phnom Penh. She wants to go to Ireland, great. It's a better passport. You get an EU passport, not the British one. It's better. But who gives a beep?
Well, Kevin, obviously Donald Trump does if he is bringing it up and discussing it with the leader of Ireland in the Oval Office.
Now, when was the last time you ever heard a celebrity such as Kevin O'Leary, who is very famous, say, who cares what I have to say and who cares what others have to say? Again, tying this back into Michelle Obama, that is sort of what Scott Jennings is trying to get at. Again, it's almost as if we are trying to help the Democrats out, and I'm not implying that Michelle Obama is being used as a Democrat tool or her show has anything to do with Democrats, but again, we saw who she campaigned for, so I think we can make an educated guess that it's most likely not going to be the most pro-Trump podcast.
The root of this mistake actually came very early on. They didn't run a process. They made an excuse of $317 million in the kitty. They kept the same campaign manager and said, we will anoint this faulted broken candidate who was inconsequential in her vice presidency, lost in 2019, as you detailed, complete loser in 2020, never could articulate anything, had no compassion for people. And her own advocates, let's not forget this. I remember the minute this happened, I was in Europe. She went on to The View. All those women wanted her to win. They threw her a softball. They threw her a second softball. She was so weak as a candidate, she couldn't even answer that she would do something different. It ricocheted around the world. She was finished.
Well, let me go.
They will never do that again.
I said at the beginning.
Now, the reason why I am showing you that clip is because Kevin O'Leary very early on called out the fact that Kamala Harris, it seems like there was no due process to put her in the position to be the next president or run against Donald Trump. The issue with this is that you have the Obamas, and again, no disrespect to the Obamas, this is just how the reports are going down and what the media is talking about. It seems like, the Obamas must be close with the Bidens or Joe Biden, considering Barack and Joe Biden work together, and it seems like we're just all ignoring the fact that we pushed Joe Biden to the side, and Kevin O'Leary has been calling this out for a while now. I just find it interesting how we all seem to forget that, that was a thing, and I'm tying Michelle Obama into this because, look, she spoke for Kamala Harris or on her behalf like we saw at the beginning of the video.
Personally, I think what was the toughest thing to see in the 3 weeks was there was a disconnect for me, what was happening with leadership in the Democratic Party and how it was truly, as my former colleague, communications director Ben LeBolt said, it was a firing squad. And I had never seen anything like it before. I'd never seen a party do that in the way that they did. And it was hurtful and sad to see that happening. A firing squad around a person who I believe was a true patriot, a person who I believe did everything that he can for this country, a person who I believe, as I mentioned before, has done more in one term than most presidents had done in 2 terms, historical things. And I was shocked by what I was seeing.
And Karine, just to clarify, these are other Democrats and Democratic leadership coming out against Biden.
Yep, I had never seen anything like that. That was, if you're asking me, the thing that I saw in those 3 weeks, that was shocking.
Okay, so if you are unaware, this interview came out, a few weeks ago, if not a month. This is Joe Biden's former press secretary, where she just fully came out and said there were members of the Democratic Party who just straight up turned on Joe Biden. I mean, she even equated it to a firing squad, which is a very aggressive way to describe things, but that's how she felt. Now, I am not saying the Obamas turned on Joe Biden, but what I am saying is collectively, it's almost as if we just forgot about Joe Biden, and all of a sudden, hey, we have Kamala Harris, and here is Barack Obama, here is Michelle Obama, and that is the main point Scott Jennings is trying to say. It's all good that you have a podcast, but I think he's questioning, is this podcast really trying to enhance or try to, lift up the Democratic Party in some way? I'll let you guys decide. I'm just trying to show you guys all the clips and tie them all together.
Obama is arguably one of the most powerful and influential people in the Democratic Party, and her name has even been floated to replace President Biden on the 2024 ticket. However, she reportedly will not be campaigning for Joe Biden, even though he could use all the help he can get. According to Axios, Michelle Obama is declining to campaign for Biden, quote, over how the Biden family largely exiled her close friend Kathleen Buell after Buell's messy divorce from Hunter Biden.
I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, Michelle Obama, there was this rumor out there that she might run for the president of the United States. And I'm going to be honest with you, this could have made for a rather interesting race against Donald Trump. Now, it didn't happen. And I'm also going to be honest with you, I really do think she would have done better than Kamala Harris. Now, something else I want to point out is that Gavin Newsom, he just started a podcast, and a lot of people are saying that he will run for the presidency in the next election. Now, Does this mean Michelle Obama, because she started a podcast, she might run for the president? You know what? At this point, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Anything could happen. I don't think any of us expected for Donald Trump to actually run again and do as well as he did. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know how you guys feel about the new Michelle Obama podcast. I forgot to say this. Her podcast is not doing that great. I'm not trying to be mean to her, but the ratings are not great. Again, she's only up to episode 3. Maybe she'll pull through. I don't know how long her contract is, but we'll see how long this podcast lasts.